Hi guys, hope everyone's really well. Just coming back with another rehash review of the Firewire Greedy Beaver. As you know, I've just changed my setup and got a little bit better mic and started doing some video editing, so I'm kind of revisiting some of the old reviews and updating those and making them a bit more relevant with a bit more ride experience applied to them. So yeah, this is one of those basically. So my Greedy Beaver is 6'4", 21 and 2 11/16, coming in at 43.6 litres. So that's pretty big volume in an epoxy board. And I've actually owned one of these in the 610, so interestingly enough, a lot of people will say, oh no, these are designed to be ridden short and everything, but I would actually disagree with that. I would say this is one of the boards that's actually quite well adapted to being sized up if you need to size it up. So yeah, sure, if you're a high performance guy all of the time, you're probably not even going to like the board at all, but if you're a high performance guy and you're looking for something that's fun in smaller ways and you're going to ride it in a small size and it's just high, performance fun, you're going to really enjoy this. And then if you're an average guy that's looking for almost like a one board quiver, I think this is where this really excels. If you've stepped down from a longboard, or if you're an improving beginner, I wouldn't say an absolute beginner. I personally think that most beginners should be on a 7.6 to 8 foot minimal for almost like pretty much the best part of the first year, depending on how old you are and how fit you are and all the rest of it, obviously. But it makes sense to spend 6 months on the same board and it being an easy board to learn on. So yeah, after that, when you're progressing, this is definitely a sort of board that will work really well for you, slightly upsized. So as I say, 6'4" is a fairly decent sized version of this, but again, this is one of the strengths of this board. You can up volume it and it'll still go quite well. 21's not crazy wide, and the tail pulls in so heavily that you'd be surprised how responsive this board is, to be honest. And yep, the nose is quite wide, but it's not crazy wide. So this is in the waves that we have here, you don't have to get very deep underneath them, so I can still duck dive this fine. And the tail will grip in most waves that most people would surf, I would say. So yeah, I would call this like a waist to decent bit overhead wave. The only time when you're probably going to find it a hindrance, I would say, would probably be more duck diving. I've pulled into some punchier waves on this, and it's like the nose isn't actually as much of a problem as you might think when you're actually surfing. It's probably going to hinder you with your duck diving, if anything. So yeah, I think that's probably where the upper end limit kind of scales out to this. But it's it's a pretty mid rocker. It's not overly rockered. There's a little bit of flick in the nose. Tail's got a wee bit of rocker. I think again with a lot of Firewire boards, and if they've had some Dan Man influence, I think the special sauce in this is the deep double concave that runs all the way through the back, and the way these rails have been really pared down and shaved off in the back of the tail. So the tail's been like heavily pulled in, and the rails are really sharp, and the concaves are really deep, and then you've got a wide and good flat area in the middle, and then you've got a fairly decent sized nose, so you get great paddle power, you get good speed, and when you turn off the tail, you actually get surprisingly nimble performance. If you cut that board there backwards and you put a hybrid nose on it, you'd say it was quite a performance board, really, because this tail's so pulled in. And yeah, I think it's quite a good little performer. I found it's actually kind of good in a way as well, because I think I'm quite front-footed with my surfing, and I think this board really rewards your surfing off the tail, and that's where its performance is, when you actually get back and you're surfing off the tail. And getting to grips with this board will help you to ride off the tail more, because that's where you'll find that it's working best. So it might improve your surfing in general, to be honest, which is not a bad thing. So yeah, this one's in the TimberTech. TimberTech, if you saw a slice through the middle looking at it, you would see basically the rails are a combination of balsa and paulownia, so I think there's about 6 mil of each, so there's about ½ an inch. So all the way around this rail, around the perimeter, is about ½ an inch of wood, and then it's got a 3 mil top skin of paulownia and a 3 mil bottom skin of paulownia, and that's all around an EPS core with epoxy resin and cloth over it. So yeah, it's quite an interesting technology. It's fairly tough and pretty durable. They don't use as much glass on them because the wood gives it a lot of strength. So What you probably do want to be a little bit careful for on these boards is if you sort of get a ding, or you see areas that are a bit thin, or if you actually see like a sand out or something on the board, you just got to be a little bit careful because they can let water in. But in general, it's a very durable technology. You know, you could travel with this. I mean, you're still gonna have to look after it, but you could travel with this and it's gonna serve you fairly well. Yeah, so as I say, really good shape. It's got its wide point up front, and then it narrows off in the tail, so it's kind of like, it's a really rewarding board for people who need a bit of help with paddling and they're not got super good waves, but when you get to a good section and they can turn off the tail, I think it's really good there. So yeah, 5 fin as well. Not too complicated, I don't think. I've just been running it with a standard, what my normal standard quad is, and then some people say they're quite happy with a thruster as well. I think the majority of people seem to like the quad. As I say, there's definitely a lot going on in the concave, and it's quite deep and quite aggressive, and there's also this real drop in the rail and tuck in of the tail. So it's yeah, that's the basis of the design basically. And say for an all-rounder, for your average person in average waves, if you were looking at a one board do it all quiver that's gonna be able to handle the small waves and the bit bigger wave and perform quite well, but also give you a lot of help with your paddling, this really is probably going to be a pretty hard one to beat, I would say, if you're looking for this kind of board. There are other similar boards. I mean, the basic design principle is like similar to a Takayama Scorpion, but that's got a bit bigger nose and probably a bit flatter nose rocker. And then the modern Love Child is probably a little bit similar, but again, that's got a bigger nose, and that's a single fin +4, whereas this is a 5 fin. So if you're looking for a bit more at the performance end, this is a great board. So yeah, I'll show you through the concaves. So here we go, rolling into the concaves of the Greedy Beaver. As you see, there's that usual single concave up underneath your front foot to give us some lift and speed. And as we get down to the back of the board, this starts to get more and more aggressive. Turns into a double concave before the front fins. And as you can see, look at the depth that's starting to get to already. So that's a super deep double concave running through the back, and that's a lot of the special sauce in this board. I think that super deep concave is really helping with the lift and the grip in the tail, and you can even see that tail rocker starting to accelerate out of the back there, that little bit of flip in the last bit of the tail. So yeah, that's one of the big factors of this board. And I'll try and show you as well. You can see here just how much the rail pairs down. It's really being tapered away at this back edge of the tail. There's a real feature here where they've chopped away the extra volume in the tail, so we've got a nice thin tail there, and there's that little bit of kick in the last bit of the tail rocker, and yeah, that's really part of the special sauce in this board that makes it go so well.